Right, let's play a game. What is bigger, Antarctica or India?
Obviously, Antarctica.
Yep. Antarctica or China?
Antarctica again.
By land mass, correct. Antarctica or Russia?
Antarctica again.
Antarctica is the highest, driest, coldest, windiest and brightest of the 7 continents. It's roughly the size of United States and Mexico combined. Antarctica is the 5th largest continent and bigger than most countries. In fact, the only country on Earth with more surface area than Antarctica is Russia, which beats it by about 1 million square miles.
A million?
For square miles. So it's like
Oh,
1 million square miles is like 1,000 miles times 1,000 miles one way.
Yeah.
Is that right? Because it's
1,000
nine,
times 1,000, yeah,
nine zeros, and you add the zeros. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. Got some facts. You're learning already listening to this. That's why you want to listen, isn't it right?
Yeah.
But the thing I find interesting, I was watching David Attenborough the other day, and he was saying that the ice in Antarctica, same as the North Pole, is roughly between 1 and 3 miles thick, and it's been there for 30 million years.
Oh shit.
So
no one really knows what's under it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you have this area the size of China that no one knows what's underneath it, and it's been that way for 30 million years. That's why, have you watched the Transformer movies? When the bad Transformer robot alien things, they went to inhabit Earth. When they were hiding in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Because it's just so easy to hide down there.
Yeah.
It's so uninhabitable. But that, when I read that the other day, that kind of blew my mind. Just thinking, there's so much of the Earth's surface that we don't know what's underneath it.
Yeah.
Because if they find some weird humanish type animal, they could have just been living under there. Or, they find the remains of the missing link. They say there's still the missing link between the humans and the chimps, isn't there? In Darwin's evolutionary thing. You heard about that? The missing link?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. There's this one mummified monk in Mongolia, which is the Tibetan side of the Himalayas, who was found under the ice.
So is that
apparently he's not dead, he's still alive.
What?
Yeah, they say his age is approximately like 200 years old.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Where did you find that?
On the Express, on the Express newspaper.
That's incredible.
Was meditating 200-year-old mummified monk still alive when he was found. Yeah. Apparently it's a kind of meditation where you go into hibernation.
Oh my god, he looks like he is dead as fuck.
Yeah.
That looks like a dead body.
Yeah.
That looks what we're looking
They have
at.
the photo of his when he's alive as well.
This.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't believe he's alive on the photo on the left. I just don't believe he's alive there. Is that what they mean?
Yeah. See, by being alive, it means it might mean not every organ in the body is functioning, or it might be only the heart that's functioning. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
So imagine what happens to the intestine or the digestive system when you go into hibernation for 200 years. Fuck.
Shuts down.
Yeah.
Must shut down entirely.
Uh-huh.
They think certain bacteria can survive in conditions as harsh as space. According to The Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of left-wing propaganda bullshit. No, I'm joking. But The Guardian's not the best paper. It's all right. But yeah, new bacteria lurking on ISS space station. New species was discovered on the International Space Station, but they probably didn't come from outer space. Imagine if it did come from outer space, though. It could have.
Yeah.
They found it on the International Space Station.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, that's kind of boring, isn't it? If we want to meet extraterrestrial life, we want it to have like 8 legs and laser eyes, not to be a bacteria. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the monk thing's interesting because have you seen some of the monks when they can, the incredible body control they have in ice?
Yeah. In India, there's one kind of monks who are called by the name of Nagasadu. Yeah, they don't wear clothes. Apparently, they are the.
Is that why you like going to watch them?
Yeah, you can watch them, but they say you should not stare them right into their eyes because they might curse you and you'll be fucked for your like 3 or 4 generations. Yeah.
Oh shit.
They don't wear clothes. They cover their body with the ashes of the dead just to protect them from the cold weather. It's like the cold cream that we apply, the ash.
And whereabouts in India are they situated?
In the Himalayas. Apparently they worship the weed god, the Shiva.
The weed god.
Yeah, the weed god Shiva, yeah. So they like smoke weed, go into meditation for maybe like 5 or 10 years, which is really small for them. Yeah.
Have you ever tried to meditate?
Yeah, I did once. I did try to meditate once, trying to focus all my breathing at one point, and then I was able to see some bright orange, reddish color. Yeah.
So you think you maybe got some hallucinations a little bit?
Yeah, maybe, because after that, my day went really good,
I mean, the meditation, your day does go really well. It relieves kind of pressure and stress and stuff.
Yeah.
But the other day I told you I did the podcast with a monk.
Yeah.
He meditates for 2 hours a day at the minute, and that's with his normal job and everything. But before then, he was meditating for 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes 7
7
at one of these temple places. But for people that have never tried meditating, you meditate for 5 minutes and it feels like 5 hours.
5 hours, yeah.
So how you can do that without going absolutely crazy is beyond me. But I have always thought that these monks have quite a cool life. They're just sat in these mountains, just meditating, being peaceful, beautiful surroundings. Aren't they, what's it called when you can't have sex? Ab something.
Nah, I don't know.
They're all virgins, aren't they, monks?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, thought so. But
imagine the kind of control they have on their hormones.
do they masturbate? I was meant to ask him that, whether he masturbates or not. They must. They probably lie, but I think they do.
Yeah, I think if in the practices or if in the books that they read or the rituals they follow, if masturbation is not considered as a sin, then I think they might do it. Yeah, because monks are not supposed to do any kind of sin. They're not allowed to do sins. That's why they are monks. So
You get monks in Sri Lanka, don't you?
yeah, you can find them.
Because I was in a Sri Lankan temple 2014 maybe, and we were walking around the temple. It was all good. You had to pay quite a lot of money to get into it, but my dad snapped this photo, and it was like the monks just counting all this cash of all the people coming into the temple.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that a sin? He's pouring a drink, he's not pissing, if that comes through a little bit weird in the microphone. But yeah.
It's always good to have rum when it's cold outside.
And what do you call it? A peg.
A peg, yeah.
A peg.
Yeah, we call it a peg. So in peg you can fix like maybe 30, 45 or 60 ml or even 90. Yeah, so we call it peg. So when you ask someone to make me a peg, yeah, you based on their preference, you make like 30 or 40 ml. If it's on the rocks, you add the ice, or if it's like how we drink, add the water and coke in the perfect ratio.
Because the thing I did think about was pegging in the UK. That means something else.
Yeah.
It's really quite different. Do you know what pegging means?
Yeah, female will have the artificial
dildo.
Yeah.
And put it up your back bottom.
Yeah.
So don't say, "Oh, we had a good night. Me and my flatmate. We did some pegging." Don't say that. We drunk some rum. Okay, no pegging happened.
Yeah.
Talking of dildos, I've already told you, but for the sake of our 3 or 4 internet listeners, I'll repeat the story. My accounting and finance lecturer, who shall not be named because I want to remain anonymous as well, his friend, I can't remember, wait, let me just Google. Can you maybe Google when Love Honey was founded while I explain the story? His 2 mates both got made redundant not that many years ago, and they weren't really wealthy people. They each put aside, they were like, right, we're going to start a business. So they both put aside £4,000 cash, and they started making sex toys and selling them online. Just, two middle-aged men making some sex toys.
Love Honey
Mm-hmm.
is a business that sells sex toys. Apparently it was formed in the year 2002.
2002?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's getting on, that's
approximately 20 years.
20 years, yeah. I was trying to work out 19 years and 11 months, but anyway. They started with £4,000 each, put together, started making some sex toys. They're coming out of Bath, shout out Bath. They grew it online and whatnot, just purely online based. And a year or two ago, one of the guys, some big Nordic bank, I think it was a Danish bank or something, bought out his 10% share of the company that he owned for £100 million. 100 million motherfucking pounds. £4,000 to £100 million in 20 years.
I think it is maybe £4,000 to 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In 20.
I think it's like lifetime settlement in 20 years.
What do you mean lifetime settlement?
If you have 100, if you sold the share for 100 million, you don't need to work your life.
Obviously not. Obviously not.
Yeah.
10 million, you don't need to work again.
Yeah, I think 5 million is also fine.
5 million's a nice number.
It is fine. It's not like you're not crazy rich, but you're rich enough.
Mm.
Yeah. You're well off. That's what all the rich people say. You know what I mean?
Wealthy. You're well off.
They don't accept the fact that they are fucking rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they say we are well off. I'm flying in my private jet. Yeah, we are just well off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, flying in
just a little bit well off. Just friends with Epstein. That level of wealth. I want an Epstein friend level of wealth. That sounds a bit weird, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have this theory about in the UK. In the UK, it is an absolute sin. Anyone sort of in their mid to late 20s and above, to ask them how much they're earning and to discuss it, it's a big no-no. British culture, there are a few things you can't do, like elbows on the table.
Shit.
Yeah, it's table manners. But also, one, you never ask someone how much they're earning. And I always thought that's a bit weird, why we're not open about money. But then I thought, how do we know that this culture of not asking people about money comes from the top? So the bourgeois, the top echelons of society,
yeah,
they don't want people to realise how filthy rich they are. They don't want the average Joe to realise how rich they are. Therefore, they kind of put this concept into society that you can never ask people how much they earn. It's a way to kind of protect. It's an information barrier. In the days before internet, it probably worked quite well. Even in the days with internet, it works quite well because everybody's watching Love Island.
Yeah, it's kind of we have two similar beliefs in India. You never ask a woman her age. You never ask a man how much he earns.
Oh,
yeah.
Why do you never ask a woman how much she earns?
You can ask. You should not ask a man how much he earns. You shouldn't ask a woman her age. Yeah.
Typically in India.
It's kind of offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take it to the heart and they completely judge the shit out of you. If you ask. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the same thing about age. You should never ask a lady's age.
Yeah.
Or their weight in the UK. Because there's a lot of fatties about. So, they get sensitive.
Imagine if you're signed up for a gym trainer, and the first day he asks you a question, what is your weight, and you get offended. You're not supposed to ask the weight of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would say humans aren't supposed to be that fat.
Yeah. It's funny how these people, they just try to create all this stuff just to stay in their comfort zone.
Yeah, the truth hurts.
Mm-hmm.
More often than not, the truth does hurt, unfortunately.
Reality is always harsh,
Yeah, reality is harsh. You're right. What part of reality are you enjoying these days? The salt lamp?
Yeah, it's good to have the salt lamp. Yeah. Got
There's-
it all the way from Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good size salt lamp. Good vibes.
And what is it? It's Himalayan salt that they literally pick up from the mountain and they just stick a light bulb in it.
Yeah, it's the pink salt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the rock salt that they do it.
And you can touch it and lick it, and it feels nice. Oh, I know. I can start playing my bowl. See, that's picking up. That is the noise of a prayer bowl.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen the thing they do when you put the water in it?
Yeah, I've seen them.
And it fizzes the water?
Yeah.
Something to do with the frequencies. Do you know a lot about these prayer bowls?
Not as these as such, but there's a musical instrument wherein they fill bowls with water to a certain level, and the volume of water inside the bowl decides the sound that decides the output of the when you tap it with a spoon. Yeah. So we have a few artists in India who do that. They have like maybe 50 or even 100 bowls filled with water, different levels though. Yeah. So the amount of water inside the vessel determines the sound. If you have an empty vessel, it makes the loudest noise, isn't it? Empty vessels make more noise, and the one that is completely full doesn't make any noise.
Well, if it doesn't make any noise, why do they have that in the lineup?
No, they have all the balls that are in between them.
Right, okay.
Not the 0, not the 100.
I understand.
Everything that falls in between them.
Can we talk about the psychic guy? The psychic guy that in India that predicted so many things about the future?
Psychic guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy you mean I told you the other day.
That's the guy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, apparently he predicted everything that happens in the world.
What more? You told me the other day quite a lot of stuff he did.
Yeah. His name is Potluri Veerabrahmam. So apparently...
Is there a little bit slow?
Potluri Veerabrahmam.
Portolori.
Veerabrahmam.
Veerabrahmam.
Yeah.
It's a little bit French, that, but not bad.
Yeah, so people call him Brahmam Garu. Garu means a form of respect you give to elderly people.
Karu.
Uh-huh.
Because it's the same as, in India, it's the same as Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, yeah.
If you have your friend's mum or dad, or your friend's dad, you never call him by his first name. That's a big offence. You call him uncle.
Uncle, yeah.
It's uncle. Because me and my mum were laughing with my ex. She was like, Uncle Ian.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's very
Our friends' parents in India, we call them uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what you should do.
We don't call them by their name.
Mm-hmm.
That would be so offensive.
No.
Yeah.
No. I used to joke. I was like, is this text alright? That I'll have his first name in it.
Uh-huh.
And she hated it. Did you find anything out about... Is the Coke finished?
Yeah.
We didn't really plan this very well. We've got a lot of rum left and no Coke. This is going to be some uncomfortable peg making.
Peg making.
Not pegging.
Yeah. It won't be smooth.
I meant that.
Yeah.
What, did you find anything out about this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Far away.
He lived in the state where I lived, so he predicted what everything would be happening in India, especially focusing on. Apparently, all his sayings are written in palm leaves. You know, in India back then when we didn't have paper, we used to write with ink on palm leaves. Yeah, so we used to dry the palm leaves in the sun so that they lose all of their moisture content. So when you write the ink, it would retain its impression of the ink because it is completely dried. It would look like a paper. So apparently all his sayings are written in the form of poetry. Yeah. So there are few people who tried to convert his poetry into text that predicted the future, and apparently they say he has predicted about COVID as well.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
They say.
Yeah, but did he say there was a pandemic? There will be a pandemic because there was already swine flu in 1918.
Yeah, he said that this will happen in the 21st century. There will be a pandemic in the 21st century, and there's an Indian version of coronavirus in the name, you know.
I know.
Yeah. So
What?
apparently we call all his sayings as Kala Jnanam, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So Kalam means time, and Jnanam means having the knowledge, you know? So it's
Mhm.
basically knowledge of times. Kala Jnanam means knowledge of time. So what will
Seeing
happen?
into the future.
Seeing into the future.
The ability to see into the future.
Yeah. Imagine how strong subconscious mind they'll be having. Trying
Well,
to
he
divert
feels
all
it.
all of their energy into one place.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe able to try to see what happens in the future.
I think monks would be good at that.
Yeah.
They have to be.
Yeah, they're trained.
You know what's interesting? One of my ex-girlfriends, because I'm a player, no, I'm joking, but one of my ex-girlfriends, we were in, where were we? We were in Barcelona, we're in this science museum, and we played this game when you'd strap this band with wires on it, like this headband with wires on it, onto your head. We both had one, so me and you were sat opposite each other on a table a couple of meters apart, and there were these two aluminium balls suspended in this like air tube thing.
Yeah.
And no, there's a one ball, sorry, it's just a one ball in this air tube, and you had to focus your mind, and the thing picked up on the sort of waves you were giving out from your mind, and it pushed the ball either way, and it was like a game of tug of war, like pushing, and you're battling against each other on how well you could concentrate your mind. And she was way smarter than me, got like super good grades all the time. Like she's just a legitimate, highly intelligent person. I'm like, she used to cane me at chess.
Was she
And
Asian?
basically, Sri Lankan, yeah.
Yeah. We Asians are smart, man.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Shout out Asia.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. But basically, yeah, she was beating me. The ball was coming towards my end. I was like, fuck. So I shut my eyes and just went. Just started doing this breathwork meditation, focusing on a specific point, and the ball turned around, it went back, and I fucking beat her.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. I can't remember where I was going with that point. What were we talking about before? Oh, the monks and the subconscious, the power to predict the future.
Yeah.
That guy.
When you're speaking about focusing on your breath on one single point of time, to a single direction, Apple has something called as the mindfulness, wherein if it like it keeps watching your heartbeat throughout the day, and if it crosses 140, which usually happens to me when I'm stressed out during presentation or during a debate, when the other person is behaving foolish and I have to win the argument, prove myself, or prove my skills. Yeah, I get a notification that your heartbeat has crossed 140 beats per minute. You have to practice mindfulness. So it basically is for like maybe 120 seconds, 2 minutes. It says it shows that 5 seconds you have to inhale for 5 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds,
and then exhale for 6 or something like that.
Yeah. There's this 3, 4, 5 breathing. Or 5. Yeah.
You can use it to help you get to sleep as well. That
Sleep
technique.
as well,
Yeah, it slows you down. You know, the interesting thing about that breath work is free divers. Do you know what free diving is? When they go down, but they don't have the scuba diving equipment. They just hold their breath. They do similar breath work, and some are like the world's best free divers. They slow their heart rate right down. And what happens when they slow their heart rate right down is the blood sort of pumps around their body slower. Therefore, their lungs and everything, their body's using less oxygen.
Yeah.
So they have to be in this incredibly calm state of mind. And then that gives them the ability to hold their breath for 4 or 5 minutes whilst going down, like 100 meters or something. Yeah, I don't know if it's 100 meters, but it's a similar technique, and you have to just be super relaxed, and that's what enables them to do it.
I think it's nearly impossible for 100 meters. Maybe 50.
You think 50? Let's
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Okay. He is the current free diving world record champion and the deepest man on earth. This title was given to him when he set the world record in the no limit discipline at a depth of, drumroll please, 214 meters.
Fuck me.
702 feet. Herbert Nietzsche, where's he from? Let's find out where he's from. This guy,
700 feet.
I mean, walking 200 meters takes a long time.
Yeah.
He's an Austrian who has held the world records in all 8 freediving disciplines, recognised by AIDA International. Current freediving world record champion, the deepest man on Earth. His title, blah, 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 blah. Wow, he's got 33 freediving world records.
Was he given the title of deepest man on Earth?
Yes, he surpassed his own limit in 2012 with 253 metres or 831 feet.
So talking about beating your own self, I'd like to bring some economics to it.
Can I just pause you 1 second while we're on the topic of deep diving? I was at Bristol Zoo and they had like a couple dozen, so like maybe like 30 of these emperor penguins. And on the plaque, basically there was a pool and there was a bit of land. So they had the land to walk on and they had the pool. And the plaque in Bristol Zoo said that we've provided these penguins with a deep pool to imitate their natural world environment of deep diving. And the pool was 4 meters deep. And I googled these penguins, and do you want to know how deep they dive in the wild? 560 meters.
Yeah.
So, you're not really replicating anything, are you?
No.
These penguins...
Not even 10%.
Them penguins, not even 1%. Is that right? Yeah, not even 1%.
Not even 1%, yeah.
Fuck me. So these penguins are basically held in prison. They're like, yep, we're replicating their conditions. Sorry, what were you saying?
So imagine a guy has taken so much struggle and creating a world record and being known as the deepest man on the earth, on the planet. And he puts much more effort to beat his own record. Imagine the marginal utility or the satisfaction he carries out after beating his own self. You know what I mean? It's much more smaller than beating someone else.
Yeah, it's far more... Beating yourself is far, far smaller.
Yeah.
I think this is what you'd call, in your own words, a dumb idiot. It's my favourite insult. It's just pointless. You've got the world record. Why almost kill yourself and get an extra 50 meters?
Yeah.
It's clearly...
Why do you want to put so much of effort in beating your own record, which is unbeatable?
It must be the dopamine rush. Well, it's clearly not unbeatable if he beats it, but the dopamine rush. People get addicted to things.
Yeah,
we all get addicted to different things.
Yes, it is. Dopamine is the reward hormone, I guess. Yeah, so I was reading this health research report that was out maybe like last year by a professor who was studying in either Stanford or Cambridge, one of the top universities, who has been in the industry as a lecturer and a doctor herself. Maybe for like 20 or 25 years, I think. A lot of experience. So the article read out that dopamine is one of the most addictive things in your brain that can either take you in the good way or completely screw you up.
That's my phone, so yeah.
Yeah. So the dopamine, you'll be shocked that what everyone thinks dopamine is, they think it is as the reward hormone, but it is not. It's not completely the reward hormone. The parts that process the reward abilities in your brain are the same parts, pleasure, reward or pleasure. The same parts of your brain that process the pleasure are the same parts that process the pain as well. Yeah. So dopamine balance, your human brain is created to have a dopamine balance. It has to always be at 0. Let's say you do some good thing,
equilibrium.
Maybe have a drink with your friends or have some sex with your girlfriend, or
Sexy
even
lady, very nice.
or even try to top in the university. Yeah, that gives out dopamine.
Didn't you top your university?
Yeah, back then.
Way back. Well, cheers to that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I used to study band, man.
I'd like to pass this year. That'd be nice, but we'll see. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, hopefully I don't get any penalties for late submission of my assignments.
Well, you gave yourself plenty of time the other day. What was your what was the margin when you submitted?
I literally had 27 seconds left when I submitted my assignment.
That's some boss shit. That's like the Hollywood movies, you know, when they have to
Yeah.
defuse the bomb and it's down to the last 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And when they stop it at 1, I'm like, your movie's got like a $30 million budget. You have the best, quotes, director in the world.
Yeah.
How realistic is it that they defuse the bomb with 3 seconds or 2 seconds left? Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Nah. You think these secret agent companies would hire people who would do things in the last minute?
No.
No,
They hire,
clearly not. Clearly
yeah,
not,
they
yeah.
hire just all the Oxford, Cambridge, all the elite.
Yeah.
Do you want to know one of my favourite facts? Because I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to... I like war, the Second World War. I love reading about that. But I like the secret agent side of things.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they get the government funding, they get this money, and they tend to be interesting characters. But back then, during World War II, some of the characters MI5 and the British military recruited were so dodgy. There's no way something similar would happen now if a World War III broke out. Touch wood. It won't for a good couple of years.
It won't.
But yeah, basically, in World War II, so like the 1940s, there was a lot of military generals and a lot of like important politicians that needed driving around. You know, they needed to come from like Sandhurst, and they needed to go to these various military bases. They needed to be back in London to speak to Churchill and things.
Yeah.
So all of these people, they hired ex-racing drivers. Racing drivers that were racing drivers before the war were then hired by MI5 and the British Army to be the special drivers for these VIPs during the war. I thought, how cool is that?
Kind of, yes. Yeah. I'd agree to that.
What do you mean, kind of? It's one of my favourite war facts. It's more than kind of. It's bloody cool.
So I don't get the logic of having the favorite war fact. You know what I mean? It's a war. People have died.
Yeah, people have died. However,
Yeah.
the United Kingdom, to a certain extent, freed the world of Nazism. But basically, when there's a world war, whether it's the Napoleonic War, the First World War, the Second World War, it's one country or one coalition of countries trying to take over the entire world. And their aim was to take over the world, to, you know, ethnically cleanse, to get the superior race, all of this kind of stuff. And you know what they did with the Jews and everything?
Yeah.
They were trying to exterminate people they didn't seem worthy, and they were just trying to have an empire and take over the world. So the UK... and Churchill and, you know, the British military, with the help of all the Canadians and the Scottish and the French, sort of, they didn't do very much, and all of these other countries, yeah, they kind of fought it off. As people I know say, you know, if we didn't win, we'd all be speaking German right now. And, you know, all the Jews may have been exterminated. So, of course, it was a period in history with tremendous tragedy, horrible suffering. Tens and tens of millions of people died. However, there was many acts of ultimate bravery, heroism, and some of those acts that saved like Europe from the Nazis should be celebrated to an extent.
Yeah. I'd agree to that.
But I do know what you mean. It shouldn't be glorified, because war, that's what they say with war. Nobody really wins. It's ugly.
Yeah, nobody really wins. Yeah.
No, and it's always the children. It's always the fucking children.
The cost of winning the war is, not worth appraisal. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that countries these days
You
ever
spend millions
intention...
and billions of dollars.
Mhm.
You use so many natural resources. So
Mhm.
many people die.
Yeah, it's
the
what-
economy is completely fucked.
The innocent children, the suffering is always disgusting. It's always but the world wars are the biggest driver of innovation. Technology always advances massively in that war period, because basically the entire economy, like if you go up to Scotland, northern Scotland now, you still see all of these like pine trees and trees that have been grown in all these rows from when they had to get the timber to build the planes to fight the war. The entire economy focuses on innovation, military innovation, weapon innovation, to try and beat the enemy. So it does provide some incredible innovation. But yeah, for sure, we're just incredibly lucky that we grew up at a time without war.
Yeah. Cheers to our ancestors who fought in the war
Exactly.
to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because of them, we are able to have some nice rum when it's 4 degrees outside.
And we're warm.
And
I
we're
mean,
warm.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Our heating is kind of expensive. However, I'm pretty sure we're far more comfortable than our ancestors in the trenches of northern France fighting the Germans and whatnot. So, yeah, shout out to them entirely. That's the problem, though, isn't it, with today? Is people are almost too comfortable sometimes. Mm-hmm. So
actually, you tried to cut my topic talking about dopamine.
sorry.
Yeah. So I remember where I ended the topic of dopamine. So dopamine is like a balance. So your brain is designed to have a balance of dopamine.
Can I have the rum?
Yeah, you can.
Shout out Captain Morgan's if you're looking. We are willing to
Sponsor.
sponsor.
Yeah,
We don't want money, just give us some free Captain Morgan's. So I've cut you off again, haven't I?
and some coke.
Yeah, and Coca-Cola.
Yeah. So human brain is designed to balance dopamine. So to put it in numerical terms, the human brain is designed to have dopamine level at 0. So when you have pleasure, you go to like positive side, maybe like +2 or +5. So when you are in pain, as I said earlier, the same parts of human brain process pleasure and pain for the dopamine as well.
The same part.
Same part.
Mm-hmm.
I should try to maybe dig a bit deeper into the topic, but by part of the brain I mean like, you know, there are few different parts of the brain, like left side, left brain, right brain.
The right side's for creativity, the left side's for something else. Yeah.
We have different components, like I can't really remember the names, but yeah, the human brain is classified into different components based on its functions.
Mm-hmm.
The human dopamine level is always meant to be 0. Let's say you're addicted to dopamine. Let's say you're addicted to having maybe drinking with friends, partying outside. That becomes your process of having your reward system to your brain. That becomes your dopamine addiction. So every time you try to have like +5 or +6 points on your dopamine level, human brain actually brings out -6 or -5, so that the dopamine level is at 0.
Can you explain that?
Yeah. So every time there are few pleasure points that add up to dopamine. There are few points that human brain adds up in the negative side to bring it down to 0. Human brain is not designed to always stay in the pleasure state, just to cope up with the reality of life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can't always stay happy. That's not possible.
Yeah. It's not possible because you only have a finite amount of dopamine.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like your muscles. If you're doing exercise, if you exercise for an hour, if you're a supreme athlete, an hour and a half or something, and your lactic acid muscles build up, and then you have to rest and you have to give the muscles time to replenish and restore. It's exactly the same with this dopamine in your brain, isn't it?
Yeah. So dopamine helps you to have like good mood or a pleasurable sensation.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't always stay in that state. It has to come back to normal state.
Mm-hmm.
So your human brain brings out the negative stuff. I wouldn't say negative stuff, but it brings out few changes in the human brain or establishes new connections in the human brain, so that will balance the emotional stability or the dopamine hormone levels in your brain, so that you're not totally addicted to being always positive and being addicted to the pleasurable drug.
Well, this is the problem I have with some of my friends and some of the people I know. I said to you before that the UK has a big drinking problem.
Yeah.
Right? And I've tried to find this Bloomberg article. I think it's 2018. It basically said something along the lines of the UK they're the biggest binge drinkers in the world.
Yeah. I think India would be after UK, maybe in the 3rd position.
Yeah, here we go. May 15th, 2019. Oh, it's frozen. This isn't good.
Yeah, so I'll complete my topic while you're searching. Doing a bit of research. So what usually happens is when you're addicted to the dopamine or the pleasurable experience, your human brain keeps sending signals to bring down the pleasurable experience back to normal. So let's say you're addicted to having so many likes on Instagram, or having uh, the most pleasurable experience, like porn addiction or whatever it is. Yeah, so every time you do something, your human brain tries to bring it down, so that you're not always in the pleasurable state, because it might create, your brain fears that it might create an addiction to it. So let's say when you're constantly only addicted to the pleasurable side, you're always on the positive, and there's so much of deficit. The number of let's say you have like 500 of surplus. There should be 500 of deficit to come down to zero. Yeah, you have 500 of surplus, and at a point of time, after a certain point of time, you don't get the number of Instagram likes or number of shares you used to get previously.
So that becomes the new normal.
Yeah, so you don't get 500.
So that's why you need more. You need more.
You need even more.
Whether it's the first time you smoke weed, apparently, or the first time you do heroin, definitely, apparently. That's why they say they're always chasing their first high.
Yeah.
Whether it's a substance or whatever it is. Usually, if you do something really fun, the first time you do it tends to be fucking crazy. It tends to be a really fun experience.
Yeah, because you're never used to that. The amount of dopamine surplus it gives out. Let's say the first time you smoke a weed, or the first time you try out hard drugs like heroin or cocaine, you get like maybe like 10,000 surplus, and your brain creates 10,000 deficit to bring it back to normal. So the next time you do the same drug just to get the 10,000 surplus, because you're already used to that,
it needs more.
Yeah, you don't get 10,000. Yeah, this can be linked to the economics principle of diminishing marginal utility. When you do the same thing twice, you don't get the same satisfaction.
Because you're accustomed to it.
You're already used to it.
This new experience. It's like this beach. It's called Woolacombe in North Devon. Remember the photo I showed you earlier on today?
Yeah.
About the beach. And I said, this is where we surf in the summer. And you were like, oh shit. The first time you saw it. The first time I saw that beach. Even now I'm a bit like, oh shit. But when I bring my new friends there and we're sat, there's this lovely car park. It's about 500 metres long. And it just has individual parking spaces all the way along. But boom, like you pull up, you park your car there.
Yeah.
And you have the most amazing views over the beaches. And you take your boards and you just walk down over the sand dunes and you're in the ocean. The first time I parked in the car park with those views, I was just like, wow, this is incredible. But now, when I go back there again for like the nth time, the 10th, 12th, 20th time, whatever, I'm like, yeah, it looks nice, but I've seen this before. Yet my friends, I bring new friends there, boom. They're oh, this is incredible. They're taking all these photos and you become accustomed to it. Do you know who Dan Bilzerian is?
Yeah. I know his case really well.
Of course,
Yeah.
So do I. His Instagram's amazing.
Yeah.
But basically, he was saying that money with him, because he's crazy rich and he loves all of his extravagant toys, the Lamborghinis, the off-roaders, the guns.
Yeah.
Like, he explained it well on a podcast. He was like, for me, if I buy like a new Lamborghini, I'm like, oh, this is cool. But after a day, it just feels nothing. Whereas somebody else that has never experienced that kind of car, has never been rich before, they buy it, they'll be like, oh shit, for maybe like a year, every time they get into it, they smile.
Yeah.
And it's part of humans. If you think about us as a species, not many species on the planet have inhabited all 7 continents, well, 6 continents really, because not many people are on Antarctica, but we're an incredibly adaptable species in terms of where we live, the different climates we live in, and the different situations we live in and things. But I think part of that adaptability links into the sort of dopamine levels and this, how we accept the new norm, whether it's an incredibly good lifestyle or incredibly bad, how we can adapt like that. I think part of that is what's made us this dominant species.
Kind of, yeah. So speaking of dopamine, back to the topic again. So because you don't get the satisfaction the second time you do it, you increase the frequency of what you do, or increase the dosage of what you do. Let's say the first time you've watched porn in your life, you get maybe like, say that's like 10,000 points on the surplus. The second time you watch it, maybe you'll get like 8,000. So to beat the 10,000 points of surplus you got in the first time, you watch 2 videos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The next time you watch 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or the next time you watch some new category.
E-
Or next
well-
time, or next time you try to watch the paid subscriptions. Most of the huge, like.
Is this
huge-
from personal experience or?
Nah, purely not. I wouldn't pay.
Well, the one, shout out uTorrent. I've been getting my porn for free for years, thanks to uTorrent.
Yeah.
But I 100% know where you're coming from. In terms of the porn categories,
Yeah.
the satisfaction levels change. Like, I watch porn maybe, I wouldn't say once a month, that's just not true. Maybe once a week. But I try not to, when I masturbate, I try not to watch porn because I've noticed if I watch loads of porn, I find it harder to climax.
Yeah.
Right, and I think the climax has got to be related to. Is it related to dopamine climaxing? It has to be.
It has to be. Yeah.
How high is the dopamine? Let me try. Yeah, talk a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll Google this.
Dopamine is the hormone that is associated to the pleasure sensation. So clearly, if you're watching porn or trying to achieve the orgasm state, it is a pleasurable sensation. If I'm not wrong, it is. No, not wrong.
No, I don't think you are wrong.
Yeah. So for the dopamine, when you get addicted, the number of times you do the same thing becomes an addiction end of the day, and that's how these companies find ways to make money. Why do you think people? The problem with the 21st century or the after the industrial revolution of the information technology is that we have so much ease of access to getting dopamine, which previous generations didn't have to. Previously, imagine you had to get a pleasurable sensation or a dopamine.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, I found a potato. My family aren't going to starve today. Woohoo!
Yeah, or even the early humans, when they used to be there, if you had to get dopamine, you wouldn't get dopamine if you kill a rabbit.
I think
Yeah.
I would, but I'm a bit weird.
You'd get higher dopamine if you'd kill a lion or if you'd fight off a tiger.
Yeah. You'd get a little bit of dopamine with a rabbit.
Yeah, but now the amount of dopamine to which we have access to is like readily available all the time. You see Instagram notification of your favorite celebrity going online.
Who's your favourite celebrity?
Nah, I'm not into celebrities, man.
Mate, you must have one. You must
I'm
have
much
one.
more into the Instagram models.
You're into the Instagram
yeah,
models?
that's my dopamine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So every photo of theirs, or even you imagine talking about your favorite television show to your friends releases the dopamine.
Peaky Blinders.
Yeah. which
Peaky
will-
Blinders on some mad shit. So, memories can trigger dopamine.
Yes, it can. But surely not. It will give the amount of dopamine which you had before. So that's when the addiction is created. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey Siri. What are... Okay, I'll try that again. Hey Siri. How'd you get...
Listening.
How high are male dopamine... Okay, I'm gonna have to try that again. Hey Siri. Hey Siri, how high are...
Sorry, I don't know what song this is.
Hey Siri, how
Uh-huh.
high are dopamine levels during sexual climax?
Okay, I found this on the web for how high are dopamine levels during sexual climax. Check it out.
Hey Siri, can you read this out for us?
There's nothing to read.
Well, you just gave me 7 articles. This AI, they've already started sparring with humans.
Yeah, you have to select an article for Siri to read it out.
Bitch, I will shut you down. Okay, I've selected it. How... It's on this... Oh no, the mic's just fallen off. Hang on.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Meantime, while you set your mic and get back to dopamine.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we're talking a lot about dopamine, which is a reward hormone, which is good. You know what I think? Talking about dopamine as a reward hormone in this podcast is giving us dopamine in real life because we are talking about some sensible shit, you know what I mean?
The podcast gives me dopamine.
Yeah.
Every
really.
time I do an episode, I feel good.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you won't get the enough dopamine or enough satisfaction when you did your first podcast that was successful.
Mm.
Yeah. You have to keep doing like 3 or 4 podcasts, or have like really popular guests or some unique guests.
Well, that's an example of how it's all related to addiction, how addiction can be proactive and how it can be beneficial to humans. However, if that heroin hit or the weed or the alcohol gives you this huge dopamine rush and you're forever chasing that, it's kind of negative and counterproductive on your life. Whereas something like this, well, it's also kind of counterproductive, but it has potential. So when you get satisfaction from things when you're in a sober state, for me, it's all about the states you're in. If you're in a sober state and you're getting this level of dopamine from something even slightly productive like this, or doing your sport, which is good for your body, or the exercise, I think that's just something to work towards a lot. But don't you find it funny how in education, they say the human brain is the most complex living organism known to man on planet Earth? Right? Yeah, think how much in school do we talk about psychology, dopamine levels, mental health. Yeah, we have this thing. Imagine it's this nuclear reactor and it's this this big black ball, and this big black ball it's the only thing that's distinguished humans from other animals in terms of our ability to alter our environment and build cities and build hospitals and build investment banks and build all of these things, and build homes. And it's what's meant that humans, like a couple thousand years ago, humans were just hunter-gatherers. Our whole time was spent looking for food, finding food, eating food, trying not to die, and fucking. Whereas these days, if you plan, we get 2 days every 7 days, so like sort of 20% of our entire time we have nothing to do, the average human. We've developed ourselves into this environment where we're incredibly safe. Look at our death rates compared to normal animals. I don't know what normal animal death rates are. However, if the rate that humans got killed at was the same as, I don't know, the rate zebras died in the wild, it'd be pretty wild, wouldn't it? It'd be very high. We've created this incredibly safe environment, like they say other animals, they're smart. Like they are a bit, but they're not really, are they? They say, oh, dolphins are so smart. They're still just swimming around in the water. Can a dolphin build the Eiffel Tower? Could a dolphin build the Burj Khalifa? Could the dolphin build a transportation device that could sit 5 miles underwater and find nuclear missiles and be invisible? Or could a dolphin go to Mars? No. Okay, who's smarter, a dolphin or Elon Musk?
No, I wouldn't categorize who is smart in terms of what, based on the output, because every living organism on this planet is created to, have their own output. Humans can't lay 500 eggs in a single day.
No, we can't.
Yeah, but the frog can.
I mean, I knew this one guy in Leicester who... well, that's the thing. Loads of our technological innovation has come from animals. Without birds, without studying how bird bones are hollow, yet incredibly strong, we wouldn't have airplanes,
Yes.
And think of all our medicines. Where have the vast majority of our medicines come from? They've come from the natural world.
Yeah.
So I do get you. Animals can achieve some incredible things that we're unable to. No. And I think our brains will be the downfall of us. Way back in like 2017, when I had this environmental studies lecture, our teacher is a brilliant guy. I think his name was Richard or something. Brilliant guy. He was basically explaining to us how every species, the population peaks and it gets to a limit where its environment, you have like a few factors. You have the population of the environment, and you have the amount of food available, and you have the amount of space available. And these three factors, if you have enough space and the population's a large enough size, but you don't have enough food, obviously that population is going to get to a point in decline where some of it starts to starve and they can't sustain the population, so the population declines. If you have enough food and the population's growing healthily, but you run out of space, then the population will also start to decline because there's nowhere for these species to live. They start fighting, etc., and the population declines. And he was explaining to us how every species of animal in history, as far as our records go back, I don't know, probably like 600 years, good records, these populations have always peaked, hit a point where either they've run out of space or they've run out of resources, food and stuff, so the population starts to decline. There's too many females and males, and they can either reproduce and their babies don't have the food to survive, or they don't have the space, so they fight and kill each other. Whereas humans are the only species in sort of recent science where we haven't reached that point yet. But he was kind of explaining to us how it's almost an inevitability, even with our superior brains compared to most species and our ability to innovate and come up with all this brilliant technology. Like humans can't, in theory, whatever the number is, what are we 8 billion or 7 billion at the moment? I think we're 8 billion.
Less than 8.
You reckon? Let's find out.
I think it is 7.4 billion.
7.9 billion 2021. Worldometer. Have you seen this? Look at this. The Worldometer, worldometer.org for anyone listening. If they've all switched off by now. But look at this.
Yeah.
You see, this is how often someone's officially dying and on record in the UK, in the world, and how often someone's being born. And these numbers are just going, that's this year, deaths this year, 53,399,588, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, you get the idea. People are dying and being born all the time. However, the rate of birth is slightly above the death rate, so the population is growing. But my point was, the population can't grow forever. Whether it's the space or the resources, we're not going to be able to sustain it indefinitely. Which is why I think Elon Musk is just thinking like 100 years ahead of everybody else. He's got quite a big brain and he reads a lot of books. I think he's just on another level. He's seeing where we're going.
And he's got a lot of money. You think a poor guy would think what will happen of 100 years after?
No, because a poor guy is thinking, where do I get my next meal? How do I provide for my family? Which is interesting. I listened to this podcast on Rogan the other day with this, she's a famous North Korean defect, like escapist, whatever you want to say. And she was explaining how, what is her name? Oh, Yeonmi Park. It was one of the most disturbing podcasts I'd ever listened to. And essentially, about 10 years ago, she'd escaped from North Korea. And do you know how she escaped? Her mum sold her into the Chinese sex slave because it was these Chinese that, you know, you get people smugglers.
Yeah.
They work on the sort of northern Africa and they get people into southern Spain. You get these people. It's a horrible job, but these people, it's very profitable business. People smuggling.
Yeah.
And yeah, so from North Korea into China is one of the big people smuggling routes for all of these people that are absolutely desperate to get into China from North Korea. And Yeonmi Park, her mum broke down in tears, was crying with joy that she sold both of her daughters into the Chinese sex slave, which kind of paints a picture of how bleak life is in North Korea.
North Korea, yeah.
What was my point? What was I saying? There's definitely a point to that. Do you remember? Not really.
I think we have quite deviated from the base topic of dopamine. Yeah. So that's what usually happens. Why do you think the number of people suffering from depression has increased after smartphones and all of this technology that is available out there is available to us at a click of a button or a touch?
Wow. Have you watched The Social Dilemma?
Yes.
No, you haven't.
Nah, I watched the trailer though. Yeah, that itself is enough for me.
Well, so when I say have you watched The Social Dilemma, what you meant to say is no, but I came out as yes because you watched the trailer. That doesn't... Basically,
the trailer itself is so scary.
Should we pause and... We haven't had the salt light on the whole time, the salt lamp. Or have we and I just switched off and I didn't realise?
Yeah, you switched it off like 10 minutes back.
Oh, 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was trying to signal you.
You should just say it.
Yeah.
This isn't professional. Like, for a start, no one's listening. No one gives a shit. Just tell me next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing that... Should we pause it and
I think
fill up the water for the
We have
rum?
to take a break.
Yeah, we will take
Fill
a
up
break.
the water, get some Coca-Cola, then
We're not getting Coca-Cola. I mean, the Tesco Express hasn't shut yet, but I know it's only like 300 metres down the road, but it's cold outside. I can't be asked to go. What was the minimum price you said for that delivery with Morrison's?
2.5 is the delivery. You have to order something worth £20.
Even with the Amazon subscription?
Yeah. If you order £20, then you get the free delivery.
Do you reckon we can walk to go? What about if we get an Uber to get Coca-Cola? I mean, the Uber wouldn't be that much because it is literally 300 metres down the road.
But why would you pay some delivery charge for? I don't mind walking down to the Tesco and coming back. Because let's say you're out on the wind, you feel cold. You're coming back and having rum again, which will give you heat. So it's a balance.
I can't be arsed. But yeah, no, maybe we can have a little cigarette and walk. All right, let's pause and then we'll rejoin. Resuming the podcast. We're in the southwesterly side of the little rock just north of Europe known as Great Britain. And we were just talking about the moon. Now the moon is the closest, what is it? It's the closest, it's not a planet, the closest thing with a substantial mass that's sort of recognised as the closest thing to planet Earth. You don't have to Google is the moon a planet, I know it's not a planet, the moon's a moon. I don't know what the difference is between moons and planets, but there definitely is a difference. Anyway.
They say moon is a star, kind of a star.
Well, it's not a star. Yeah, basically, the moon is roughly 250,000 miles away from planet Earth.
Yes.
And the point I'm making is space is so vast. Space distances, they have to measure everything in light years because it's so extreme and so much larger than miles or kilometres if you're European or imperialist Britain. Basically, to give you an example of how big light years are, New York to London, like one of the world's most popular travel routes for airplanes in the world, is 3,461 miles apart, and it takes light 0.02 seconds to traverse those distances. Yet all of space is measured in light years, how far light travels in a year. So light travels halfway around the world in 0.02 seconds. So think how long it travels in a year. What do you think?
Yeah. I think they're trying to research on time travel, with the principle of how fast light travels. They say if you are able to travel faster than the speed of light, you'll be able to travel time.
Really?
Yeah. So basically it is next to impossible to create a machine or an engine that can travel that fast.
Ooh. I read somewhere that if a plane does an entire orbit around the world, if it flies around the circumference of the world, it travels back in time by like 0.000 number of seconds, so it's slightly time travels. But it's the ability to have that speed. Well, they think nuclear fission, which is the one they use all the time, nuclear fusion or nuclear fission, is used in nuclear power plants.
Honestly, I don't have much idea about the scientific terms here, referring to, but based on the time travel, I wouldn't say it is clearly time travel, but the difference of time zones of the planet, you can actually celebrate your New Year twice. Yeah, in two different places. You can catch the flight in one place and then celebrate the New Year, travel in flight to the other place where the time zone is different, and still you'll have enough time to celebrate the New Year again.
Well, that's what they said. 2012, they had the Hollywood film, and 2012 was supposed to be some ancient civilization when humanity and the world ends. And in 2012, because Australians are 12 hours ahead, they posted, "It's alright guys, we're still alive," on like the government Twitter page or something,
Yeah.
to kind of prove, because in Australia they celebrate New Year earlier than the UK, because you
Yeah.
have the time zone that goes through London, South Africa, and that's the GMT time.
Yeah.
So-
I have the plan. If you want to celebrate New Year's Eve twice, it is only possible by moving east towards across the international date line. So you have to celebrate your first New Year in Los Angeles, which is 19 hours behind the Sydney time. So you have to celebrate your first New Year in Los Angeles, and then you'll have 19 hours to travel on flight from Los Angeles to Sydney, and then in Sydney you can celebrate the New Year again.
So those are the only two points on Earth where that works,
Yeah.
basically. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever done that?
Yeah, I've come across through this on Instagram. There's this
Must be
couple-
true then.
Yeah, it is true. There's this couple that I follow on Instagram that has celebrated New Year twice. I'm just trying to find out how long is the flight duration from LA to Sydney.
I think about 18 hours, 15 hours. What's the longest flight you've ever been on?
To London. To England. From India, I had a flight time of 10.5 hours, which is a direct flight from India to, yeah. So apparently the non-stop flight from LA to Sydney, it takes 15 hours. So you still got 4 extra hours to celebrate your second New Year.
Oh.
Yeah. Not many couples know this, but yeah, this is on my bucket list. I'll celebrate New Year twice with my girlfriend or wife.
That's your plan.
Yeah, that's one of my travel bucket lists.
I used to like celebrating New Year's until I think it was 2018 New Year's party. I went with my friend Johnny. Shout out Johnny if you're listening, which he's not because he's a terrible friend, doesn't support the podcast. Anyway, we were in Bristol at this rave. You know how Bristol's like really druggy raves? Like, I don't do drugs, so I was just drinking. And I was queuing for a drink. And basically, when they're on MDMA, girls sometimes get really horny. Well, boys get really horny as well. And I was just trying to queue for a drink. And this girl was literally grinding up against me, humping my leg while I was trying to order a gin and tonic. And I was like, "Excuse me, are you okay?" And then we had an argument, and she made out like I was in the wrong somehow, you know? And I was like, "No, I'm sober, you're fucked, and you were being incredibly weird."
Yeah.
And then,
She
yeah,
might be a fake feminist though.
maybe. I'm a feminist. I'm
Yeah.
all about free the nipple on Instagram. Because you know how boys and guys on Instagram, you can show a topless man with his nips out on
Yeah.
Instagram. However, a topless girl, if she's on Instagram with her nipples out, it gets removed
Removed.
for
Yeah.
nudity.
Yeah.
How fair is that?
Even I'm a feminist, but there's a clear line of difference between being a true feminist and the fake feminist. You know. I'll give you an example. So feminists fight for the rights, equal rights of men and women.
Mhm.
So it goes to the other extreme end where these fake feminists come up with the slogans that why should women only be raped? Why can't men be raped? And there are few fake feminists out there in the world who are on a mission to find males and then rape them.
What?
Yeah,
Some feminists are trying to find males and rape them.
yeah. Fake feminists, to be precise. They're not feminists though. Yeah. So it's the extreme end of supporting feminism. You don't focus on things such as like equal pay or equal rights or having the position in a company that you can attain is what feminists fight for. Fake feminists go to the other extreme end. They try to cause the same problem that females go through to the men.
I mean, the sad reality is, with this equal pay and things, is that in like the 1950s and even current day, for most of time, men have been paid more than women. And why? If you break it down, they're bigger, stronger. It's different roles in the household. A lot of cultures and countries over the world, the woman's job is still very much to stay at home, raise the family, cook, while the man goes out and earns all the money. And only in the last 60, 70 years, or 50 years really, in the UK has the dynamic shifted, which gives a woman the opportunity to pursue a career as well, which I think is brilliant. I am in favour of it, because my grandma said, back in her day, in like the 1930s, girls going to university simply wasn't really an option. They went to finishing school.
Yeah.
Finishing school's like learning how to be a good housewife, essentially. Whereas a lot of cultures, Arabic cultures, things like that, the woman playing that role still is very much a thing. And if they're happy with the role, I don't know. I think they should be given the choice. If they're happy with it and they like doing it, that's okay.
Yeah.
But they should also be given the opportunity to pursue a career and things.
Yeah.
Because, they think, the African population's booming. Prince William came out in the press the other day, because the English royals have a lot of sort of political and social clout and have influence over the world.
Yeah.
He was saying he basically said Africans need to be having less babies. Then he got all this criticism because he's got 3 or 4 children, quite rightly so, because he was a bit hypocritical. If you want to keep the population down, you want like 2 children maximum.
Yeah.
But the African economy is eventually going to boom, and the reason why it's growing is when the population's growing a lot. But if you look at countries, the more developed countries, the birth rate is always far lower. And why? One of the main driving factors because of the lower birth rate is because women have careers, and they have careers, so they're not just at home having loads of and contraception as well, obviously.
Yeah.
But so, if I think the World Bank did this study, and they're basically talking about how if a lot of African females, get careers and things, then the birth rate will drop, as it does with virtually all of the most developed economies. The birth rate's far lower because the females have careers and things as well.
Yeah, that is only one small factor. The much larger or the much bigger factor in developing countries having a lot of population is that in these developing countries you need a lot of, because they're still in developing countries, the monetary value of the currency that is traded in the economy is far less than the US dollar. So what usually happens is people require more money to make a living in their country, and this in the lower developing countries, the income inequality is so high that the poor people require more number of working people in their family to be able to sustain in the economy given the inflation rates. So the poor people will have more and more kids, just with the intention that someday this kid will turn up 18, and after 18 he'll stop his education and work and bring back the money to the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. However, I know the US dollar is the reserve currency of the world, and has been for over 100 years, really.
Yeah.
However, if the US dollar and their native currency is weak versus the US dollar, which is why it's hard for them to earn, that only applies for if they're trading internationally. The economy and their currency is still connected to their own economy, so long as inflation isn't super high within their own economy, the US dollar doesn't really come into it as much. It's only when you have exports and imports of the trading that the US dollar affects it. But I think it's more the hyperinflation. When you have these unstable economies, that the inflation's super high, that's when the economy gets fucked. Like, in Zimbabwe, they've famously had hyperinflation for a long time now. They have $1 trillion Zimbabwean note now. $1 trillion. Because when you get hyperinflation, you're one step away from civil war. Because there's famous stories of, especially in Nazi Germany, one of the main reasons why the Nazis came to power is the hyperinflation in Germany.
Yeah.
But people's earnings, you're earning 30,000 Frankfurts in Germany, and by next week that's worth half as much as it was before. How are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to pay for groceries and things like that?
Yeah.
And that's what really fucks the economies, because back in the summer I was chatting to this girl in a bar in Bristol, and she was from Zimbabwe. And being an international student coming from Zimbabwe, where you've had hyperinflation, affording to study in the UK, and the pound is one of the strongest currencies in the world.
Yeah.
It's even stronger than the US dollar, similar to the Swiss franc levels. I was like, my word, your family must be loaded, the fact you can afford to study in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Or they must be having huge amount of assets, you know.
Definitely. I love your
Yeah.
saying. What's your saying?
Having more number of physical assets, you know, like land, properties, or even given the inflation rate, assuming you have sources of income that keep generating revenue irrespective of the inflation rate. Let's say you have few rental properties that you're letting out. So with the increase of inflation, you would obviously increase the rent for the rental properties. Not every rental property would be able to generate revenue, because few might drop the contract given the inflation rate, but still there will be few people who will be continuing the rental contract and still giving you enough money, so that money will be it will suffice your requirement to sustain in the inflation.
Well, that's the thing. When inflation, the US, I think it was today, and we're Friday the 10th of December 2021, the US just reported 5.8% inflation, the highest rate since 1982, from the Financial Times. And basically with inflation, so much money's been printed to save all these economies, but it means that the central banks, the governments borrow off the central banks, and the central banks are the only ones with the power to print this money, and they print this money. And with the COVID and whatnot, the way they re-stimulate the economy is to give the central banks, to give the government so much money that they give the money to private banks and stuff. They basically flood banks with so much money that they have to give out loans. And then private companies can use these loans to invest, and that kind of kickstarts the economy, right?
Yeah. Don't you think printing more money will increase the inflation rate? Let's say if the inflation rate was 4%, after you print maybe like $1 trillion more, the inflation rate will be higher.
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
from 4% it will go to 5.8, which you have said.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It devalues money. If you look at the graph, I found this graph the other day. The value of the US dollar in 100 years. Let me just try find this 1 second.
Yeah.
Boobity-boobity-boo.
Meanwhile, I'll try to read one of the quote that I found out on social media, posted by a so-called feminist, who is obviously a fake feminist. It's on the Men's XP website. Cheers to that. So, Sharon Stone, if you're listening, the more famous and powerful I get, the more power I have to hurt men.
Why are we talking about feminism again?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Yeah, but it comes from every political movement has bad actors, and she's clearly a bad actor. But I think on the most part, the feminist movement is kind of positive.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I found it. So basically, the value. Okay, purchasing power, because the money's relative to how much of it you have. A house is worth 100 of these things. So if you print more of these things, i.e. the money, if everybody suddenly has more of this thing, the thing has less purchasing power. So basically, this is from the Financial Times, assuming in the 1900 the year, the US dollar had a purchasing power of 100. Guess what the purchasing power was by 2019? So that's just 119 years later.
60?
$3.
Oh shit.
Because every time the economy crashes, they print loads more money, so the value of the money just decreases.
Yeah.
Which is why, when the economy crashes, like it did the 2008 financial crisis, like it did with the COVID pandemic in 2020, the value of houses, like the UK, the houses, they've increased 10% the value of houses in the last year,
Yeah.
and the value of all these assets and stuff, because the market's just been flooded with money, that they have to put this money somewhere, so it just drives up the prices of everything, causes this inflation, causes these supply chain problems as well,
Yeah.
which in part comes from the consumer.
And
But-
even when there is inflation rate, the interest rate of the banks go down in it.
It should go up. They need to, quite why they haven't hiked up the interest rates of like the Bank of England and stuff with this major inflation. I'm not quite sure why they haven't, but they need to soon,
Yeah.
for sure. We searching?
I'm searching what happens to the interest rate if the inflation rate is high. Yeah. To sustain in the economy or bring the balance. With the increasing inflation rate, even the interest rate has to increase as well.
Well, it's like if private banks and stuff, if they're lending too much and the economy's overheated,
Yeah.
then the borrowing, if interest rates are higher, banks, companies are less likely to borrow from banks, because their costs of financing, the cost of their taking these loans, it increases, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, the central banks who set the rates, and these rates are the minimum, it's slightly higher than that, the rate the central banks set, is what these private banks can borrow at, and then it's what the consumers, the private companies and stuff can borrow at. So if the interest rates are higher, there'll be less borrowing, there'll be less investing in the economy, there'll be less spending by these private companies in the economy. So to hike, to raise interest rates, that slows down the growth of the economy, theoretically.
Yeah. Very true.
Oh. What do you think about culturally? How do you think people are friendship interactions with British people compared to Indian people? And are we done with interest rates?
Yeah, we are done with interest rates. So what do you mean by friendship interactions? Really?
I feel like, especially the Arab culture, they're so family and friends. They value it so highly, whereas I think the sense, like, people still value friendship high in the UK, but the sense of community, fair enough, we have a good economy and the standard of living's good, but the sense of community isn't quite the same as it was before in the UK, and we have this kind of sense of awkwardness meeting strangers, and it's a lack of trust. I think there's a lack of trust in strangers, yet statistically we're one of the safest countries in the world, one of the safest nations, the UK, yet we don't trust strangers very much, whereas in other countries where, you know, the murder rates and whatnot may be higher, they still trust, and they're much more loving and caring, I think, to strangers.
Yeah. Speaking of India, I think trust comes with the. There are few caste divisions in India, like or religious divisions in India. Like if two people are from the same caste and the same religion, the trust you will have on them when you first meet them is a bit higher than a guy who is not in your same religion and same caste, which would have. Yeah.
From a different caste, the trust is higher.
From the same caste and same religion, the trust is higher compared to the different caste and different religion.
Well, I think
people
that
tend to trust specifically the religion and their caste system, because they have apparently every religion and every caste has the same ethical values deep down in their roots, that it is end of the day it is humanity, not the religion, but apparently it's not the case of the people,
I think it's naturally built into humans. It's our animalistic instincts of being cautious of foreign objects and things we don't know, which is what drives a lot of racism. Like, fortunately, I don't know that many racist people, but the racist people I do know from the UK, I say to them, how many black friends, how many Muslim friends do you actually have? They don't have any.
They don't have any, yeah.
But it's just a kind of natural reaction. We don't trust something we don't know, because it's to kind of protect ourselves from when back then, if you don't know what this other tribe was or something, they could come and kill you or whatnot. Whereas a lot of it's just a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
And when you realise, okay, fair enough, their cultural values slightly different, but at the end of the day, we all want similar things. We all want to be loved. We all want to feel safe. We all want to, kind of get along. On the whole, we all want to get along. I think. Fair enough, you have these bad politicians and these bad dictators that want wars and stuff. But people, we just want to. We're a social species.
Yeah.
We want to be social. We want to provide for our biological families, and But
speaking of humans as social animals, I'd like to bring up the topic back to the ages. When humans were called Homo sapiens, we humans as Homo sapiens always look for a leader who can guide us. It has always been the case. That's why we have these leaders who give out how we are supposed to act, and we blindly follow that, even though it doesn't make any sense. Majority of the population, even in the 21st century as well.
Well, I think culturally these days, we love pop stars, we love celebrities, the celebrity culture. We don't know why, even though I'm kind of against it, I still love, I love Jeremy Clarkson, I love Kanye West, I love more rappers. We love to find like these quote unquote role models, and we do just love. It's something within us being humans. We love to follow. We do love to follow.
Yeah, we don't have the intentions, or we can't. Not every human being can be a role model, which they can actually, but we still try to figure out to have a role model and try to follow them or follow what their beliefs are. Just to be a part of the community that supports the beliefs believed by the so-called role model or the celebrity which we follow. Why do you think two different rappers in the same industry have the people who follow the two different rappers who are quite successful hate each other's fans? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, there are two successful rappers in the same industry. Yeah, success is success. Why do you want to fight over measuring how much the first rapper or the other rapper is successful? Success can't be measured. Why do you want to quantify it? Why do you want to say what the first rapper has done great, better than the, how much the album released by the first rapper is more successful than the second rapper? And why do you want to compare that, and why do you want to create a community that fights against each other?
Why do we create the conflict? I'm not exactly sure how to relate it back to rappers, but the thing I always like to take is the football analogy. Like, football's not that big in India, but in the UK you have Premier League teams, Championship teams, and you get these die-hard fans that spend their hard-earned cash. They go out and they support their team, and they all have these local rivals, whether it's Manchester United and Manchester City or Arsenal, Tottenham. Yeah, I find it interesting how these groups of people, if you break down, they both love football, they both love watching live football, they both deeply support a football team and these group of players kicking this ball around, yet their opposition, their quote-unquote enemies, they hate them. Yet when you break it down on a larger scale, when you zoom out a bit, look at it objectively, in the demographics of the UK, these two football fans, they both love football, they both love watching live football, they both love spending their hard-earned cash on football. These are the two most similar types of people, and you usually say, like, your friends, you have common interests, you share a similarity, therefore you should be getting along with these people really well. Yet for some reason, the people most similar to them in society are those who they've been kind of programmed to hate, and I've never really understood that.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Yeah, linking it, even if you try to link the same football principle that goes with the rapping industry as well, you have a successful rapper as your role model. He is also into the rapping, and the successful rappers usually try to bring out the societal issues that brings them more followers. Yeah, one rapper might be focusing on a particular social issue, and the other rapper might be focusing on a societal issue in a different way. Why do you want to fight amongst yourself? End of the day, both of them are rappers, both of them are from the same industry. These two groups love the music, the same category that they belong to, yet they're still fighting, quarreling about who is better.
I think some of it is kind of they're not, like, sometimes they are fighting, but sometimes they, like, when a famous rapper's about to release a new album, suddenly they have a beef, they have a rivalry with somebody else, because we love following it. It's interesting to follow this beef, and it creates attention, and it kind of drives album sales. Like, the classic example was back in October when Drake dropped Certified Lover Boy and Kanye dropped Donda. Like, you saw, they were quote unquote beefing online. Yet what were we, 2 or 3 months later, they performed at the same concert, the Howard something or other, the Raising Thingy concert. So I think some of it, they weren't actually beefing, they just, the beef is what the public love to witness. They love to watch the excitement, and that it keeps their name relevant in whether it's social media and in society. It keeps them relevant, creates news, and then drives album sales. I think a lot of it's part of that.
It's just a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
So end of the day, if you look at the economic perspective of what they do, the so-called beefing or dissing, one rapper dissing another rapper. So imagine you're supporting one rapper who is dissing the other rapper. End of the day, you're ending up your so-called hard-earned money on one rapper, and the other group spends so-called their hard-earned money on the other rapper. End of the day, you're supporting these two rappers who are faking a diss or fake beefing each other, and what's the point if you're supporting for their mutual benefit? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'll put it in a different perspective. Imagine there's a group of people who hate Drake, and they're trying to create hate on the Drake's new album, which is the Certified Lover Boy. So in order to create hate on the album
they
Certified,
have to talk about it.
Yeah, in order to create hate on Certified
they
Lover
have to
Boy,
hate on it.
yeah, you have to go and listen to the album. So every time you listen to the album or the songs that he has created or the lyrics,
this album's
whack. It still ends up benefiting Drake. So what is the point of you hating someone when
that's the thing.
Yeah.
It just you're fueling their success. If you're hating publicly, say that you got 1,000 Twitter followers, and you got 100 people all hating on Drake, all have 1,000 Twitter followers, and they're not all gonna have the same followers. So they're like, I just listened to Drake's new album, it's whack. Boom. Oh, Drake's got a new album out. That's what people are seeing, and then they make up their own mind. It just drives the publicity. That's like Floyd Mayweather. You know Floyd Mayweather, the boxer.
Yeah.
One of the most famous boxers in the world. He's like one of the best promoters in boxing history, like one of the only billionaires from boxing. He used to talk so much shit in pre-fight press conferences and stuff, and do you know what he used to say? He was like, I don't care whether they want me to win or want me to lose, but if they want me to lose, they're going to buy the fight. If they want me to win, they're going to buy the fight. It creates the publicity, man. But
even Cardi B, when she has received one of her awards for her album, she said in her speech that all you haters out there who are trying to create hate on my content, you still end up listening to my album or downloading my album to listen and spread hate. It still benefits me. Every time you click on the link on the Google, or every time you click the play button on the Apple Music or Spotify, I still get paid.
Well, that's the thing. Back in 2016, when Trump was originally running for election, the media, he kept saying outrageous things. So the news covered, one of the leading presidential candidates said this today, said this a week later, said this. Yet all of the media outlets were giving him free publicity all the time. And I think he knew that, which is why he kept saying all these outrageous things. I mean, he is a bad guy. He says some terrible shit. But yeah, everyone knows. There's that saying, isn't it? Like, all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
Keeps your name relevant.
Publicity is publicity, irrespective of whether it is in the good way or it is in the bad way.
Unless it's really, really, really fucking bad.
Yeah.
It's how you play society. It even breaks down to at school. School gossip. Humans love to gossip. We gossip about celebrities, we gossip in school. What's the gossip? What's the day's gossip at school is, oh my god, you hear what he said to her, or oh, he called her fat or something. That's the gossip. And I feel like gossip it creates this entity, this sort of social value that if enough people see it, they relate to it and they can speak about it, and it's kind of a way to initiate a conversation with either their friend or someone they don't necessarily know that much. Like the classic thing is, I don't know about India, but in the UK, if you're speaking to a stranger, you say, "Oh, how's the weather today?" I mean, we both know the weather. We're both awake. We both lived through it. We both have phones that will tell us the weather for the next 7 days. Neither of you really care about the answer to that question.
Yeah.
You just want to start the conversation. I think some of it is just our need to find ways to communicate with each other.
Yeah. Looking back at gossiping, which you have mentioned earlier, there's few research done on how Homo sapiens, or how the so-called early man started to communicate with the other person. That's how communication was established. That's how language was established. The root cause for language to be established between two human beings being communicated is gossiping. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So gossiping is quite literally in our DNA.
Gossiping is the base for us to speak to other human beings, irrespective of whether you like the person or no. Imagine you pick up a hot gossip that is around everywhere. Yeah, you know what I mean. Irrespective of whether you like the person or no, just imagine he picks up the hot gossip that is around the town or that's on the social media. You end up discussing about the gossip with the person you hate for hours and hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can literally talk about the same gossip, maybe for like 1 or 2 days straight, chatting to him on social media, just about the gossip, whether irrespective of the fact that even though it is, you really don't know if it is a true one or a fake one.
Have you seen the studies? It was on the social dilemma of how much quicker fake news spreads than real news.
Yeah, I've seen that. Apparently, fake news spreads faster than the original news by maybe like, I can't really get the numbers though, but yeah, I'm guessing it is like 27 times more faster than the original news. If you find that on Google, please state it.
Okay, I've got a BBC article from 2018. A study of 126,000 rumours and false news stories spread on Twitter over a period of 11 years found that they travelled faster and reached more people than the truth. I mean, that's not the sort of quantifiable figures I was seeking, but yeah, fake news, because with fake news, it can be more extreme, it can be more ridiculous, it can be more make you think, oh wow.
Yeah, because the other day there was this one case there was this one case study in India. I wouldn't say it is a case study, it was a typical legal case wherein the delivery guys, in the UK you have like Uber Eats, but in India we have Zomato, which is kind of a startup that is multi-million dollar business in India now. Apparently there's this one female who said that the delivery guy ended beating her up because she wouldn't make the payment on time, and everyone on social media started supporting the fact of the female being beaten up by the delivery guy, irrespective or not even caring to know what actually happened in the real situation.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked what really happened after the investigation when the actual case was out.
Yeah.
It is the other way around. It is that the female apparently used her so-called feminist rights to support her case. What happened was, when the delivery guy came at her doorstep to make the delivery, she told that you've crossed the delivery limit of 30 minutes or free food delivery. Wherein if you look at the terms and conditions of the company, it says that 30 minutes or more free delivery is not applicable if there is some road construction on the way to get to your house.
And there was.
Yeah, and there was a road construction. Apparently she got into an argument with the delivery guy and she ended up saying, I won't make the payment. And the female was the first person to hit the delivery guy, and the delivery guy didn't even try to touch the female. Yeah. Apparently, she brought down the delivery agent onto the road, wherein on streets in India it is some topic like this is very spicy, where everyone out of their homes come up.
You have a much stronger sense of vigilante. The locals take the law into their own hands. If they see an injustice, they want to act upon it. Whereas in the UK, we're all pussies, so we call the police. We go through the more judicial process. But if she says, "Oh, this guy's hit me," they'll fuck up the guy, right?
Yeah. In India, it's the same. Apparently, it is a part of our culture to not touch cows which are on the street.
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Cows are sacred.
Cows
Cows
are
are sacred.
sacred,
Pigs are sacred.
Yeah.
What about dogs?
We don't touch dogs either. We pray to the cows. In fact, in India.
Do you have a cow god?
Yeah, we have a cow god.
What's he called? Or she? I'm not.
No,
sexist.
cow itself is a god.
Cow
itself is a god to Indian culture. So apparently, just trying to figure out. We have it written in our ancient scripts that a number of gods are in the cow, so we don't touch the cow.
How many gods do you have?
I think 33 million gods.
33 million.
33 million gods, yeah.
So, how do you become a god? There must be a chance.
Yeah, apparently we have. So out of 33 million gods, we have. I don't think 33 million is the exact number of gods we have.
Your Bible must be thick as fuck, fitting on all those gods.
We don't have Bible.
Mm-hmm.
We have different books. For Hindus, especially, which is like 78% of the Indian population is Hindu. We have the sacred book, which we call it as Gita. Bhagavad Gita. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't have the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah. And they say that apparently Einstein was unable to prove the Bhagavad Gita wrong.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Albert Einstein. Talking about Einstein, he said this quote. Okay, Hey Siri. Albert Einstein quote. The next war will be fought with sticks and stones.
I couldn't find that in your music.
Did I say music? This woman is useless. One sec. Albert, I speak a little bit. Akil.
Yo.
Speak.
Yeah. So apparently, Bhagavad Gita, Albert Einstein always regretted the fact of life that he could not indulge in Bhagavad Gita in earlier stages of life. So in Bhagavad Gita, we have few principles which we have to follow in our life. Like believe in God or doing the good deeds or etc. There are a ton of principles that you have to follow. And apparently, Einstein regretted that he didn't follow the principles written in Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Using the so-called scientific principles, Einstein was able to fail to prove Bhagavad Gita that it is not applicable in the real life, especially in the new or the century which Einstein belonged to. Even though Bhagavad Gita was written like hundreds of, or even like, let me try to Google it.
Do you want me to, while you're Googling that, do you want me to read out an Albert Einstein quote?
Please. Yeah.
Albert Einstein said, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." And he died quite a while before nuclear weapons were founded in 1942, roughly around that time. So he predicted the nuclear weapons, because nuclear weapons, if we have a nuclear war, US and China, Russia and US, or whatever, Europe and the Europe and China or whatever, when that happens, basically every form of life will be extinguished from Earth apart from cockroaches and bacteria. Therefore, if they even evolve enough to carry sticks and stones, there is a high possibility that the war after that, it's definitely not going to be fought with guns. So he was right before he even knew the World War. So he's got some of his predictions right.
Yeah.
However, not when challenging Indian
Mm-hmm.
religion, folklore, culture.
Yeah. Apparently, Bhagavad Gita is 5,153 years old.
That's older than the Egyptians.
Yeah.
That's older than the majority of
Majority
civilization.
of the
That's 3,153 years older than the birth of the baby Jesus.
baby Jesus. Yeah. So you think principles written in a book that is 5,153 years old would be still applicable in the 21st century?
Probably not.
It is.
However.
Yeah, it is.
Oh shit.
That is with the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, that's what Einstein was able to fail to prove, that the principles written in Bhagavad Gita are not applicable. Given that the Gita is such an old book, yeah, usually principles written in the old book don't apply to the modern world because we have quite a few changes in the society and the
Just a few.
yeah,
Virtual reality porn.
yeah, few changes in the real world that you need not. The old principles usually are not applicable in today's generation.
You know the thing I always think when I think how long modern day solid truthful science has been around for. 200 years, 300 years maximum.
Mm-hmm.
And humans have been around at home for, I don't know, like 30, 40,000 years. So for so many years, most of nature's events, tsunamis, earthquakes, lightning strikes, plagues, they haven't been able to be explained by science. So I always said, imagine you're living somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa and you're in the desert. You're living on the outskirts of the Sahara Desert. Say you're an Algerian nomad in, I don't know, the year like 360, and you see a sandstorm. 800-meter wall of sand swirling in a tornado coming right at your village, yet there's no scientific explanation for that. What are you going to think that is? You're going to think that's a god. You think that's the world's alive and the world is punishing you maybe for a sin, or it's fairly hard to explain. Imagine what that must have felt like seeing something like that before science.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of.
What do you mean, kind of?
No, I was just googling about the relationship between Einstein and Bhagavad Gita, you know? Yeah, Einstein actually ended up praising Gita, you know, which is still a mystery. Imagine where Einstein is one of the greatest scientists existed on the planet, believing Bhagavad Gita, which is like 5,100 years old, and the principles written in it. Apparently, the research says that he regretted not following the principles written in Bhagavad Gita, not following them in his early stages of life.
Specifically, what principles though? Because I assume there was quite a lot of principles written and publicly touted. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So in the Gita we have like various principles that we have to follow to live a life wherein you don't focus on the materialistic aspects of life. You end up before you die. The Gita says that you have to attain the self-actualization stage, wherein you
enlightenment or something similar.
Yeah, something similar. You don't have the love for the materialistic things that the society provides, but you have to love your own self. You know what I mean? Attain the know the purpose of your life.
Satisfaction and happiness. That's the thing I've learned speaking to that monk the other day, and also through meditation. The problem when you're living in a more materialistic society is people get a bit confused and they try and seek satisfaction and happiness from all of these external sources. So the more materialistic environment, economy, society you live in, the more materialistic things and the more ability to purchase and own these material things you have through your higher income and stuff. Therefore, not everyone, but some people are going to be depending more of their happiness on these material things, whereas true happiness comes from within.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Why do you think so many people are depressed, irrespective of the things they have? Let's say you look at very low income countries like where the income inequality is so high and the net disposable income of the people living below the poverty line is so low, and they still end up being happy. And if you look at such rich countries where the income inequality is really less and still the people are a bit depressed, why do you think it happens?
I think it's because we get confused. Like my marketing module, they came up with the lecturer. Like the marketing is we have one of the best marketing departments in the whole of the UK. In fact, I think Bath is top of marketing departments in the UK. And they were basically saying how the UK per capita, so you get like GDP per capita, which is basically the amount of money per person, the UK has one of the highest marketing research and expenditure per capita out of all the countries in the world. It actually comes above America, which is quite profound. And yeah, so if you relate that back to think, what that's saying is all of these private companies are spending and investing so much money into how to targeting with their marketing campaigns, how to making these people feel inadequate with what they have, and how to give them this thing they don't need. And it's essentially driving insecurity within society. So yeah, as I was saying, the UK has one of the highest amount of companies investing in advertising in the world, which is why I think we're so materialistic, because we just get these adverts just get forced down our throat all the time, every day and night. Like a lot of adverts are making us want a product or want a thing we don't actually need, and it just fucks with our psychology. Marketing's all about psychology, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Even with the social media, they study, like some of the top Google and Facebook employees, they're not studying technology or technological engineering in their degrees. Some of them are, but a lot of them are studying psychology, because what's easier to beat, human strength or human's weakness? And human's weakness is our feeling of loneliness, because we're a social species. So when we're alone and we get these little red notifications pop up on Instagram or these likes on Facebook, it makes us think we're part of this community, and they just target our weaknesses and they exploit it.
Mm-hmm. Looking at how these marketing campaigns are, you mentioned the fact that marketing campaigns at times promote things which we don't actually need. I'll try to bring up the screens that we are having on our smartphones today. So talking of the screens, we used to have like 60 hertz screen, that is the number of times the frames per second that a screen has.
Mm-hmm.
So no one really thought that 60 gigahertz or 60 fps screen was slow. No one really complained about the 60 hertz screen that they had, that it is too slow, we might need a better one. But once a 120 hertz screen is created, it was marketed in such a way that 60 hertz is actually slow. Try looking at the 120 hertz. So every smartphone company, every laptop manufacturer on this planet try to creating the 120 hertz, promoting, try to make sales. You think looking at the consumer behavior, consumers would have thought that we were fine with headphones. Yeah, the wired headphones. We've been using the wired headphones for approximately like 2 decades.
Suddenly,
you
get those wireless headphones.
Yeah.
You can
do you think any
things.
consumer on this planet would have complained about the long wire that they have to?
No
one.
I read this quote a few months back, and it's the concept of ideas. Humans are susceptible ideas, and it's the basic principle of that when you're introduced to an idea, your mind is permanently expanded in a certain way, and you won't look at the same concept again as it were before that idea.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the sort of quote-unquote ideas I had is when I was reading the Financial Times, and it just kind of hit me. I was reading quite a few articles, and I was like, oh shit, the entire world is trade, buying and selling of goods and services, and even in wartime, a lot of companies make a lot of money out of wars. The entire world is just finance and trade,
Yeah.
That's all I got on that, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we wrap this up? Do you want to wrap it up? I want to wrap it up.
Yeah.
You have anything more to say?
Irrespective of the topic we are speaking to, how do you feel doing the podcast out there under moonlight when it is like 3 degrees out there, having a bit of Captain Morgan rum?
Shout out Captain Morgan. I feel good, man. And do you know why I feel good? Okay, think of the city we're in has got a population of 120,000 people. Friday night, a lot of people are out drinking. How many people the average night are out looking at the moon or out staring at the stars? The reason why I love nature so much, like specifically surfing, I surf quite a lot. When you're in nature, it humbles you. It makes you kind of get detached from all these materialistic things, all of these little issues you have in your life, and it makes you think, okay, the moon, the earth, the sky, everything. These are all forces that are far bigger and far greater than the average person. It makes you realise how insignificant you are, and therefore makes you realise how trivial your problems and issues are in context of the big cycle of life and the world. Even our entire lives, we're one of 8 billion people alive today that live for 80 years, and humans have been around for like 50,000 years or 30,000 years or whatever, and we're just one of billions and billions and billions and billions of people who are all just trying to work out how to be more comfortable and achieve our sort of biologically inbuilt desires and needs in this crazy world. And even being in like a well-developed country where we're fortunate enough not to be dying. Unfortunately, there are some homeless people and stuff, but the vast majority of people in the UK, even if you don't have a job, you get you get job seekers allowance and things. We get all of these things provided to us, but I feel like sometimes our brains are just too developed, so we worry and we stress about all these things, and we all think, oh, a billionaire, a super wealthy guy, he must be happy. Why? Because we're just so attached to this materialism. Whereas, like, for me, my happiest days are experiences with friends and just being outside. If you've ever walked up like a mountain or something in nature,
Yeah.
is that ever a bad day? Unless like the rain's terrible or something.
Nah.
No, because that's how.
Especially if you're trying to walk on a mountain, or when trying to go out for a walk when there is where there is good nature or good views early in the morning. Yeah, your day never goes bad until there's something terrible that happens before the end of the day. And as you've mentioned, surfing and the oceans, you think blue-green algae, which is the first species that was evolved in the that is first species to be living on this planet, and everything that is evolved from the blue-green algae apparently came from water. So I am trying to relate that irrespective of how stressed the human being is, actually the most peace he will find, or the calmest, the place where he'll find his maximum or he'll be calm, is the ocean. Human beings are made up of water. Yeah, especially most of the water that is inside the human body is the salt water, and the water present in the oceans is salt
very
water.
Similar.
Yeah.
Okay. Building on that point, you know how the ocean's tides in the world are controlled by the moon?
Moon, yeah.
Yeah, if humans are... What's the percentage of humans that are water? It's something like 70%,
70% of the humans are water. And majority of the water that is inside the human body is salt water. So, it just goes back to from where you have been evolving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Medicalnewstoday.com. Most of the human body is water, with an average of 60%, the range of 45% to 75%. I'm definitely near the 70 marks. I drink a lot of water. But basically, if the moon's gravitational pull controls the tide of these billions and billions and billions of gallons of water, the largest amount of water on Earth, why isn't the gravitational pull of the moon having an effect on our body if we're largely water? Or is it? Because when we look at the moon, there is something incredibly enticing. I just want to touch it. You know what I mean? It must be having an effect on us.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, when you're trying to relate the effect of moon on human beings, I'm trying in the same way I'm trying to relate the effect of oceans or the water in the oceans, trying to relating it to the human body. Yeah. Why do you feel so calm and composed? Why do you feel good when you're at the ocean or at the beach trying to relax yourself?
Oh, so you think there's...
Yeah, because we have evolved from the water.
We have... All life species
All
evolved
life
from the
species have been
water.
evolved from water, and we have come so far in the evolution that once you try going back, there is some connection that can't be defeated, you know.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, all of the world's most expensive real estate, i.e. like properties, are situated around water. On average,
yeah.
are situated around water.
Yeah.
Water does have this weird, incredibly calming effect on us, yet we know if we're stuck out in water for longer than like a couple hours, we're probably going to drown and die. So it's this sort of calm killer that entices us, and how much of that is through a form of... it's kind of ingrained in us that our consciousness and our subconsciousness can't understand. It's this feeling, this desire we have to kind of gravitate towards it. We don't really know why.
Yeah.
And I don't think science can explain why. And I don't know, because I know nothing about science. But yeah, there is something about water. It's incredibly calm.
Yeah.
Why do all these millionaires and billionaires have big pools?
Big pools.
When
yeah.
you're in a pool, you're just chilling.
Yeah.
I've always loved water, but...
Yeah.
when it gets a little bit warmer, we can go surfing, and when you're sat out on the water, like you just be having a conversation like this, and the sun's out, there's some nice waves, you feel safe, you're sat out on your board and you're floating. It's just, you're not thinking about anything else. It just relieves all of your worries, and it's incredibly calming and brilliant. Should we wrap it up?
Yes, I think yeah.
I feel like we should.
Yeah.
Alright. Thanks for the 4 people listening. Goodbye. Bonne nuit.